Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to this space. Before we begin, I want you to picture something with me. It's the end of a long day. You're tired, lying in bed, scrolling through nothing in particular, and your thumb drifts towards your banking app. That little icon, and you feel it, don't you? That tiny flinch, that quiet not tonight. So you swipe past it and tell yourself you'll look tomorrow. But tomorrow comes and you don't look then either. And the day after that, the icon's still there and the feeling's a little heavier than before. Here's the thing nobody tells you. It isn't the number inside that app keeping you up at night. It's the not knowing. It's the fog. Because the moment we stop looking at our money, a small voice somewhere inside us begins to whisper, I can't handle this. And that voice is exactly the one I want to help you switch off today. So wherever you are right now, if you've been feeling a little heavy, a bit foggy, I work so hard and I genuinely have no idea where it all goes, I want you to take one slow breath with me. In and out. Good. You're in a safe place. There's no spreadsheet here waiting to tell you off. No complex tax code. No rigid rules about what you should have done by now. Just you, me, and a warm cup of something lovely. Because today we're talking about money, but not the way you might be bracing for. We aren't talking about budgets and apps and restrictions and all the things that make your shoulders climb. like they climb up around your ears. We're talking about money confidence this week. And I truly believe that real confidence in your finances doesn't start with how much is in your bank account. It starts with your willingness to look. That's definitely the first step. So, whether you've been avoiding your banking app like the plague, or you simply feel like the money lands and then vanishes into thin air, this episode is for you. We're going to strip away the shame and we're going to start building your financial power from the inside out. Go and make your brew if you haven't already, and let's begin. Part 1. Money confidence isn't perfection. Let me start by gently taking something off your shoulders. I think one of the biggest myths we quietly carry is that being good with money means being perfect. We picture this woman, don't we? She never overspends. She always hits her savings goals. She has this calm, flawless relationship with her direct debits. And she never once feels that little spark of dread when a payment leaves her account. But my loves, real life is rarely that neat. Sometimes the bill lands at the most awkward, badly timed moment. Sometimes you're so exhausted after a long week that the takeaway isn't a treat, it's a necessity for the soul. Sometimes the car needs something, or a friend's birthday creeps up, or you say yes to a weekend away because you need to feel alive again. And sometimes, let's be really honest, you buy the things simply because you're sad, or because you're celebrating, or because it made you smile in a week where not much else did. I'll be honest with you, because I think honesty is where this all begins. Over the years, I've bought so many dresses, so many bags, in a moment when I was just feeling low and just wanted to pick myself up. That's that little hit of joy at the checkout, the feeling of, this will help, this will make me feel better. And then the next morning, the guilt would arrive right on cue. Not because of the money itself, not really, but because of the story I told myself about what it meant. That I was reckless, that I'd failed again, that I couldn't be trusted with my own money. And that, lovely, is a thing I most want you to hear today. Money confidence is not the absence of mistakes. It is your ability to come back to yourself after that mistake. It's that quiet, grounded strength that says, okay, Let me just have a look at what's going on. It's choosing awareness over avoidance, gentle and without self-attack. Because here's the truth that took me far too long to learn. Avoidance doesn't make the money disappear. It just makes the fear louder. Part 2. Your numbers are information, not a judgment. This brings me to the single most important shift in this whole episode. If you take only one thing away today, let it be this. Your numbers are just information. Your bank balance, your debt, your spending habits, they are not a character reference. They are not proof that you're fading or that you're irresponsible or that you're somehow behind everyone else your age. They're simply data points. They tell you where you are right now. That is all they are, and that is all they will ever be. And here is why this matters so much. When you have information, you have power. You can make choices. You can decide. But without it, everything just feels like thick grey fog. You get that little pang of anxiety every single time you tap on your card. You say yes to a dinner with friends and then quietly panic about it for the rest of the night. And that fog, I promise you, is almost always far more stressful than the actual numbers even turn out to be. This is something I see all the time in my work. I worked with a client a while ago. I'll call her Maya, though that isn't her real name, who felt exactly like this. She was successful, she earned well, and yet she didn't properly open a banking app in months. Every time the thought crossed her mind, her stomach would knot. She'd quietly find something, anything else to do. In her head, that number had grown into a huge, terrifying thing that she was certain would confirm her deepest fear, that she was a mess, that she'd somehow ruined everything. So in one of our sessions, we did it together. Coffee in hand, one slow breath, and she opened it. And do you know what she said to me afterwards? It wasn't as bad as the version in my head. It wasn't perfect. There was absolutely things that needed her attention, but it wasn't the catastrophe she'd been carrying around for all those months. And the relief that washed over her was extraordinary. For the first time in so long, she could breathe. Like, really breathe. Within a few weeks, she'd cancelled 2 subscriptions she'd completely forgotten about, moved a little into a savings pot, and then, and the part I love most, she started checking every Friday morning without a flicker of dread. And here's what gets me every time. Nothing about her actual numbers had changed in that very first moment she looked. Not £1. The only thing that changed was she finally stopped hiding from them. Because looking at your money is like turning the lights on in a dark room. When it's dark, every shape becomes something frightening. That pile of clothes turns into a figure in a corner. But the moment the light comes on, you can finally see. You can see what needs your attention. And here's the part we often forget. You can also see what there is to celebrate. Because looking isn't only about facing the scary things. Sometimes you turn the lights on and realise you've quietly saved more than you thought. That you've been steadily chipping away at a debt without even noticing. That you're actually doing better than the anxious voice in your head had convinced you. You'll never get to feel proud of those wins if you keep the room dark. Part 3. Why looking at your numbers feels emotional. Now, let's be really honest with each other, because checking your money isn't always a neutral experience, is it? It can feel deeply, surprisingly emotional. Your stomach drops at a lower balance than you expected. A wave of guilt washes over you when you open a credit card statement. Your chest tightens, before you've even tapped the app open. And I don't want to brush past that because that feeling is real and it deserves some tenderness. So let me say gently, the way you feel about money was very likely not your decision. So many of us absorbed our money stories long before we even earned a single penny of our own. Maybe you grew up hearing, "We can't afford that," in a tight, anxious voice. Maybe money was the thing your parents argued about behind closed doors, in the quiet after you'd gone to bed. Maybe it was never spoken about at all. This hushed, slightly shameful subject you just didn't bring up. Or maybe you're simply exhausted because you live in a world that shows you everyone else's highlight reel and quietly whispers that you should be doing more, earning more, being more. So, if you feel a flush of shame when you look at your numbers, please hear me. You are not broken. You're carrying a story that was handed to you long ago by people and circumstances that had nothing to do with the woman you are now. And the truly beautiful thing about a story is that it can be rewritten, but not with shame. This part really matters to me, so let me say it clearly. I do not believe in shaming ourselves into budgeting. Shame might spark one panicked moment of action, a frantic afternoon of cancelling things, but it never, ever builds a calm, sustainable habit. You simply cannot shame yourself into confidence. It has never worked for anyone, and it never will. So, instead, we build money confidence on 3 quiet anchors. And I love for you to actually hold on to these, maybe even write them down. The first is awareness, simply asking, what is actually happening here? The second is compassion, saying to yourself, I can look at this without attacking myself. The third is small action, deciding, okay, what is one tiny step I can take next? Awareness, compassion, small action. When you hold all 3 of these together, you stay out of the shame spiral and you step gently back into your power. Part 4. The 3 questions to ask before budgeting. So before you dive into categories or apps or anything that feels like hard work, I want you to start somewhere much softer with 3 heart-led questions. These are the foundation of what I call confidence-led growth. And we're going to make them really practical, so you finish this episode knowing exactly what to do. Number 1, what is coming in? This sounds almost too simple, but tell me honestly, do you actually know to the pound what is landing in your account this month? And I don't just mean your salary, I mean everything. Client payments, a refund you're owed, that £20 a friend keeps definitely transferring to you, a little side income, interest, anything at all. So here's a practical bit. Open OneNote on your phone and list every single source of money coming in this month. Then add it up and write the real total down. Notice how different it feels to see one solid, knowable number instead of a vague, I think it's roughly ... And if your income is irregular, if you're self-employed or your hours change, don't panic about that. Just take a gentle average of the last few months so you have a realistic starting point, because you cannot build confidence on a guess. 2. What's going out? Here's what I've learned over the years. It's almost never the one big dramatic purchase that catches us out. It's the quiet spending, the little treats, the 3 subscriptions you genuinely forgot you were still paying for, the convenience deliveries on the night you just couldn't face the kitchen. So practically, I want you to split it into 2. First, your loud spending. Things you already know about, rent or mortgage, bills, direct debits. Then your quiet spending. And this is where you open your last 30 days of transactions and simply scroll. That's it. You're not budgeting yet, and you are absolutely not allowed to tell yourself off. You're simply being calm, curious observer of your own life. If you'd like to go one step further, pick a single category: eating out, coffees, subscriptions, and gently tally it up. Not to feel guilty, but to make it visible. Because the moment your spending becomes visible, you stop asking, where on earth did my money go? And you start telling it where to go. Number 3, what am I avoiding? This is the big one, lovely, because there's almost always something. So try this with me, out loud or in your journal. Finish this sentence. The thing I really don't want to look at is ... And then just let whatever rises up, rise up. Maybe it's a specific balance you're scared to see. Maybe it's a debt figure you've never actually added together in one place. Maybe it's a direct debit you keep meaning to cancel, but somehow never do. Maybe it's a conversation with your partner that you keep swallowing down. Or, and this one catches people off guard, maybe what you're avoiding is your own ambition. The quiet, almost frightening truth that you actually want to earn more, live bigger, take up more space than you've allowed yourself to. Whatever it is, naming it out loud robs it of its power in an instant, and becomes truth, my love. So it's exactly where confidence begins. Part 5, a gentle 10-minute money check-in. So, if you're feeling ready, and after these 3 questions, I think you might be, let me walk you down a little ritual. Just 10 minutes. And I really do want you to do this one, maybe even later today. So set a timer for 10 minutes. That's all that is. You're not signing up you're not signing up to fix your entire financial life this afternoon. You're just turning the lights on in one room. Make yourself a brew. Your favorite coffee, a soothing tea, whatever feels like a small kindness to yourself. Take it somewhere calm and a little beautiful, even if that's just like your sofa with a candle lit or your kitchen table with morning light coming in through the window. Before you open anything, place a hand on your chest, take one breath, and say this out loud. I'm looking at my money to support myself, not to shame myself. Say it again if you need to. Let yourself actually mean it. Then, gently open the app and write down 3 things. And only 3. Your current balance, what's coming this month, and one thing you've been avoiding. That's it. That's the whole ritual. You don't have to make a plan. You don't have to have a single answer. You just looked. And here's the quiet magic of it. Every single time you keep a small, kind promise to yourself like this, you build something far more valuable than your budget. You build self-trust. And self-trust, my loves, is the absolute bedrock of confidence. Part 6, money confidence, self-trust, and what to do next. Because there is a direct, unbreakable link between your finances and your sense of self-trust, think about it for a moment. Every time you avoid your numbers, a tiny part of you quietly files away the evidence that I can't handle this. And before long, that hardens into an identity. I'm just bad with money. You've said it, haven't you? I've certainly said it about myself more times than I'd like to admit. But here is what I need you to know. You're completely allowed to put that identity down. You're allowed to become someone new. You're allowed to become the woman who knows her numbers. The woman who can say no to a purchase without feeling deprived, and yes to an investment in herself without a flicker of guilt. And honestly, one of my favorite small shifts lives right here. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, which can feel like deprivation, like a door slamming, try saying, I'm choosing not to spend on that right now. Can you feel the difference? One makes you feel powerless, the other puts you firmly back in control. That tiny change in language is confidence in action. And the woman who lives like this isn't built overnight. She is built exactly the way we've talked about today, through tiny, honest steps and small promises kept. Trust with yourself works just like trust with anyone else. It's built slowly, in the small moments, by doing the thing you said you'd do. So, once those lights are on, please don't panic, and please don't try to do everything at once. Just choose one small focus for the week ahead. Let me give you a little menu to choose from. Maybe it's cancelling one subscription you generally never use. Maybe it's setting up tiny standing order, even just £10 into a saving pot, so that savings happens quietly in the background without you having to think about it. Maybe it's popping a recurring money date in your calendar for Friday mornings, coffee and all, so looking becomes a gentle habit instead of a dreaded event. Or maybe it's simply checking one balance once this week. Confidence grows when the action feels doable. So I want you to ask yourself one final question. Not how do I fix all of this? Because that question is far too big and just floods the room with fog again. So instead, ask yourself, what would make me feel just 10% more in control this week? Just 10%. Then go and do that one thing. That, my love, is exactly where you start. Part 7. Reflection and resources. So before we wrap up, I love for you to sit with 3 questions this week. Maybe with your journal, maybe just on a walk on your own. There is no right answer, only honest ones. So what part of my money have I been avoiding the most? And be honest with yourself. Honest but not cruel. There is a real difference between the two. What emotions actually surface when I think about my bank balance? Is it fear? Is it pressure? Or is it quietly underneath it all a hidden desire for more? What is one small money action I can take this week to prove to myself that I am capable? Just sit with these. Let them work on you gently. You don't need to solve them today. The resource. Now that we've worked through together today, 3 questions, the 10-minute check-in, the reflection prompts, all of it lives in one calm, beautiful place, the Money Confidence Workbook. It's the very same confidence-led reset we just walked through, gathered together so you can come back and do it again anytime you need to feel grounded. It isn't a list of numbers or rules to follow. It's a gentle space to keep meeting your money with kindness. Go and download it for free at nefiaguntoye.com/resources, and I'll put a link in the show notes for you. So, summing up, and lovely, I want to leave you with this. Money confidence starts with awareness, not perfection, not panic, and certainly not pretending. When you choose to look, you choose yourself. And you are so deeply capable of building a life and a bank balance that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. So this week, take a deep breath, check in gently, and remember your money is not the enemy, it's information. And information always, always gives you choices. If this one resonated, come and say hello over on Instagram. I read every single message. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're following Cappuccinos and Confidence so the next episode lands right in your feed. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye.